I don't really care what people think of me.
You only eat meats? This is crazy, man. This is interesting already. Look.
That said that if that Hunter Biden laptop story
Have any arguments against that right now? And I want to see how it goes. Hey, what's up, you all? Welcome back. I am Van, and we are all the LFR family. Much love to you all. I only introduce myself because some people don't know my name, just as a lot of people don't know what LFR mean and LFR family. But we were sent this video right here. Piers Morgan, and he's communicating with a cutie pie by the name of Mikhaela Peterson, Jordan B. Peterson's daughter. And I'm hearing that this thing gets a little fiery, but it's respectful, which I enjoy, because usually Piers Morgan usually jumps on people, but I think he has a certain level of respect for Jordan B. Peterson that he would not do that. We'll see for ourselves. Please let me know whatever y'all want me to know in the comments. Like this video and share it for me, please. And consider joining our locals, which is LFR Family Locals. Thank you so much. Let's get into it.
Well, I'm joined now by Mikhaela Peterson. Mikhaela, lovely to see you. So I interviewed your dad, Jordan Peterson. Let's get that out of the way quickly. What's it like being Jordan Peterson's daughter starting?
Well, it's opened a lot of doors, I think, that wouldn't have been open to me. But that's one thing. It's extremely dramatic. It's somewhat stressful. There, like ever since he went viral in 2017, our lives have just been turned completely upside down. So like I was reading an article earlier about how Jordan gets on TV and cries about being famous. And I used to look at celebrities and think, oh, if they're complaining about fame, what are they complaining about? You have money and opportunity, like stop it. But the amount of stress that also comes with that, I think, is hard to understand unless you...
How old is this young lady? Because I don't want to give her too many compliments about how her beauty or anything, and she's younger than 21. So now I got to look into that. God gracious. Yeah, let's move forward. And also, I love how she is breaking down how difficult it was, because I'm certain they've learned to manage it all, the fame and all of those other things, because they've done some amazing things since starting his new career of social media.
Experience it.
Had a huge impact on him, on your family, on you, everyone, right?
Yeah, it's been wild, but I can't complain about the opportunity. I mean, I've taken advantage of that as much as I can.
Well, you become a big star yourself. You know, when I tell people I'm interviewing you, young people are like, oh, wow, that's great. You know, you've got nearly 1 million subscribers to your YouTube channel. You're doing these huge numbers on social media. What is it about you? It's not just because you're Jordan's daughter. There's something else. What is it you think that's really grabbing people's attention?
Well, I hope that I'm telling the truth. I don't really care what people think of me. And I think my health story also influenced a lot of people, because there's so many chronically ill people. And so I brought a lot of people into the personal aspect of that. And then I guess I'm a fairly disagreeable female, which I think is attractive to some people.
But I would find that quite agreeable.
I'm polite. And it depends. We might agree on a lot of things, so that might be it.
We probably agree with more than you think. Just for those who don't know your health story, very quickly, tell me what happened.
I had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis since I was 2. I was diagnosed when I was 7, and then my health just went downhill. So I was depressed. I had chronic fatigue. My skin was a mess. I was on like 8 medications and I couldn't function. I couldn't get out of bed. And when I was 22, I decided the medical system wasn't helping me. I'd had my hip and ankle replaced. Like I'd had years of being on painkillers and things. And so I took it into my own hands. And that was when I was 22 when I realized that if you have issues in your life, nobody other than you is going to fix them. And I used to go to the medical community because that's what I'd learned, to get help, and that wasn't working for me. So I started to delve into diet. I went back to school for a biomedical degree, which I didn't end up finishing. I did a couple of years of that, and I started delving around in diet. So like, long story short, I ended up only eating meat, which I think is also kind of what helped people start following me, because they're like, what's this weird all beef woman
How long
up
did you do that for?
I'm still on it. So
And you literally only
6 years.
You only eat meat still?
Yep.
Only? Okay, she gonna have to break this down. Bruh, this is interesting right here. You only eat meats? Like, only? No veggies, no carbs, no nothing, just meats? Okay, I need to hear more. And this made your health better? Obviously it did. If she's still doing it, she went back to school to learn more about it. This is different.
Walk me through a day's diet.
Strip loin. Strip loin steak, that's
So you wake up in the morning, what do you have for breakfast?
Strip loin.
What do you have for lunch?
Strip loin.
What do you have for dinner?
Sometimes strip loin in soup.
And dinner, same?
Yeah.
So you have 3 steaks a day.
Wow.
Yeah. I would change it. I would change it if I could, but as soon as I add anything back in, like there's still some underlying crazy autoimmune problems. Anytime I add anything back in, I
Do you
get
have no
arthritis.
vegetables or anything? You just
Nope.
Nothing, just the steak.
Yeah.
Do you have any sauce?
No.
I mean, it's kind of fascinating. How long have you done this? 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years in December.
Wow, this is crazy, man. You know what? And it just goes to show that there's no one expert out there that give all of us that has one blueprint that works for everybody. We're all unique individuals, and she figured out what works best for her. And for the last 6 years, that's what she's done. And obviously, it's worked. And she tries to slowly introduce other things into her diet, but obviously the other things she tries to introduce don't work. So she goes right back to that strip one, New York strip or something like that, steak. I don't know a whole bunch about steaks, and my wife will probably kick me in the back pockets for saying that I don't know a whole bunch about steaks, because that's all she eat when we go to restaurants. You know what I mean? God gracious, this is interesting already.
You look like you're bursting with good health. I mean, what do the experts say about it?
Depends on the experts, but mostly,
Get outta here.
you know, you should have died by now is usually the reaction I get.
But do you oddly feel healthier than you've ever felt?
Oh my gosh, as a teenager, I told you, I couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I had my hip and ankle replaced. I couldn't walk. So, I mean, my baseline was nearly dead.
Right.
So compared to that, I feel great.
Do you
I'm not
actually
depressed
do you
anymore.
like steak, or are you now sick of it?
If I had to live off of only one food, it would be New York strip loin. So at least there's that, right?
And if you go
I was right, babe. But see, listen, if my wife see this part right here, she's going to be a little excited. I got it right. I said New York strip. All right. So yeah. All right. See, it's the one part, the strip. I don't know them by numbers.
to a restaurant, you just have steak.
Yeah, just with salt.
How do you have it? Is it medium? Is it medium well? Is it just rare? Like, how do you have your steak? Please ask her that, Piers. Please, man.
Just with salt.
Just with salt, yeah.
I mean, I love a steak with salt, but
There
3
you
times
go.
a day, every day, 7 days a week.
The alternative is worse, so that's why.
Do you drink alcohol?
I do sometimes.
You can have a nice glass of wine
That
with
puts
it.
a bit of a skew on the diet, because they're like, oh, you can only eat meat, but you can have some vodka. But vodka doesn't seem to give me arthritis, so
Funny
yeah.
enough, Bear Grylls, the explorer,
outta
he tried veganism for a while, then renounced it all, now feels ashamed by it, and he's gone pretty well full on meat as well, I know.
Meat and vodka.
Probably.
Meat and
You'd
vodka.
have to, given the things that he does.
Yeah.
So that's the story, and that's what really electrified people's interest in you. But since then, your opinions have also become things that people have followed.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
How would you categorize yourself in terms of your position, for example, on things like masculinity? Where do you sit with that? Because I know what your dad does. I've interviewed him, obviously.
I don't think I'm quite as conservative as my dad, but I'm pretty conservative compared to the average person. This whole trans debacle is really pushing me into, I don't know what, like a form of feminism or something. Just like, it's so insane that
Yes.
I feel like I need to protect women, even though it's basically women causing this.
I'm glad she said that. Thank you so much. Oh my gracious. Not that I want women to be blamed for anything, because I do not. Protect women at all costs. Y'all are amazing. Without you all, there would be no people. Period. But let's go back to this lovely young lady. Okay.
I don't know, view on masculinity. I think men are having a harder time, which is why people like Andrew Tate popped up, and people like my dad.
And there's no doubt, I mean, when I walk around, having interviewed both Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate, the number of young boys, like late teens, early 20s, that come up to me about those interviews months and months, sometimes a year later, and wanting to talk about them, really curious what I thought of them and what I feel about that. It showed me there's a lot of young men who are wandering around kind of aimlessly and wanting direction. And they feel with your dad and with Andrew Tate and these others that they feel like at least somebody is trying to understand them and to guide them.
It's not only young men, it's older men too. I am one of the people who benefited tremendously from listening and watching Jordan B. Peterson. He just came off as like a breath of fresh air, someone that didn't have an agenda, who obviously was already a professor, and he knew how to get a point across to anyone.
I'm so incredibly grateful for my dad. I don't know if I would have been able to figure out my health problems if I hadn't had him as a father, because he basically told me I needed to fix my life. I couldn't use my health as an excuse, even though it was a legitimate excuse. And I think people aren't told how to make plans with their life. Like, hey, what's the goal you want to achieve? What are the steps you need to follow in order to get there? Just something as simple as that. And so I know people like my dad tell people how to do that, and it changes their lives, because there they go. They have a plan, and then it works
Why
out.
are so many young people anxious. What is this anxiety epidemic about, do you think? Is it dopamine from the constant sensory overload of stuff they see on their phones, or what is it?
Well, I think it's multifaceted. I mean, the political atmosphere is a disaster. What you're being taught in school is a disaster. Social media seems to be a disaster, so that's got to play a role. And then there's no gender anymore for any of these kids in school. That's got to be mentally confusing. And that
It's mentally confusing AF. Like you're teaching, come on, man. Recognize your audience. Children are not ready for this goofy ass conversation that we're having, guys. This is all us.
And I mean, I think there's a health crisis in America. I think I was one of the people that got hit by that. So I know that the health crisis is impacting people's mental
probably
health
exacerbated by the pandemic.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It separated people. It created a lot of loneliness. A lot of people. It made it worse, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was a disaster, especially in Toronto. Massive problems there.
Right, but do young people also, have they developed a kind of inability to deal with normal life stuff? I mean, I sense that there is a problem there. It's just getting through day-to-day normal life. A lot of young people are struggling. Why?
I don't think that they think they have control over anything. I don't think they're taught in school that they don't have control over the government, they don't have control over their lives. So if they're dealt a bad hand of cards, then there's nothing they can do about it. And then they get resentful and hopeless, which is why people like my dad, I think, have gotten famous, because it's like, no, you do have the power to change your life. You just need to make a plan, and you have to stick to that plan. You have to work on it. So I think it's people feeling lack of control over their destiny.
Your dad got emotional with me. He cried quite openly, talking about the lost men, really, of our generation. Is he very emotional at home when you?
That's one thing that I really respect about Jordan B. Peterson. I've made fun of him on videos before, like just being goofy. I was the one being goofy. Like, bro, you're always crying, bro. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's an amazing thing to be in that position. I'm not that.
He is exactly the same person on camera as he is at home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly the same.
I mean, it must be, in a way, it must be quite exhausting, but also incredibly intellectually stimulating to be around someone like him.
Yeah. I mean, we got taught about the psychological significance of the Bible when I was like 7. So that was like dinner table talk. I had no idea that my dad was weird until I was like 24.
You see, until I met him, I thought he was maybe weird or very controversial or whatever. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to meet. And when I met him, I didn't think any of those things. I thought he was unbelievably bright. He really thought through these issues. He'd obviously been massively misunderstood or deliberately mischaracterized. And I came away thinking he's a force for good if people actually listen to what he says.
If they listen to what he says.
If they listen to what he says.
People like sound bites. They're so much easier to digest.
Yeah, people love some sound bites. Oh my gracious. They just, the sound. He said, what? How could he say this one thing? The brother then spoke for 2 hours, but you picked up something that lasts for 30 seconds and you ran with it. Or maybe that's how you were introduced to it, by one 30-second video of somebody that disagreed with him, that grabbed that one point and just ran with it. And it became popular and it landed on your doorstep some type of way. And you just started believing that and judged him right out the gate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the Peterson clan then, what is life like now? I mean, you've come through this maelstrom of years of chaos and attention and fame and so on. Where have you washed up?
We're still kind of in the middle of it, but I think we're more emotionally resilient. So when articles used to come out about my dad, they used to hit him really hard. Like a New York Times article would come out, somebody would come into our house, pretend to be all friendly, and then boom, this negative article. That was really hard. Every single time that happened, it was a catastrophe. And now we're not fazed at all. He's not fazed at all. So we've gotten used to it that way. But I don't think the controversy stopped. Like, where there's definitely more people. This is one thing that's weird that happens when you have money, is people come after you. I didn't realize, I'd heard about that, but I didn't realize that happened. So we're dealing with that in like 4 different ways.
What are the things, when you get up in the morning and you've had your steak, and then looking forward to your next steak, when you get up there, what are the things that really exercise you? What do you care most passionately about?
Well,
Piers is asking some great questions. He really is. I'm impressed. He's asking some phenomenal questions to this young lady.
my dad and I, and we have a team, well, we've been working on a project called Peterson Academy, which is launching in November. I think that's probably my passion right now.
And what's it really, at its essence, what's it about?
Well, I went to university. I took 4 years. I took 2 half degrees, and it was woke in 2012. And so I was paying for courses that were taught through a feminist perspective, and it really pissed me off. And I know that the average university degree now in America costs students between $100,000 and $200,000, and it teaches them to their country, that they have no control over their lives, and doesn't set them up for jobs. And so we thought, hey, we have access to the top professors across the world. Let's grab those. Let's film really high quality, like Netflix-like lectures, and let's give people access to a degree for $30 a month. Just flatten the education system. So we're hoping to reduce the price of a university degree by offering a general education degree that teaches people how to think and how to have intellectual conversations with anybody. So like,
wow, hold on. I had to clap for them because that's phenomenal. They're teaching people how to think. They're teaching people how to think for themselves. And when they're using the best scholars possible, the best professors around the world to be able to do that. And they're looking out for their pocketbooks at the same time. They're making sure that people aren't going into crazy debt. They're doing something manageable. $30 a month for a good education. Come on, man. That's phenomenal.